Hey y'all, so God has given me another lyrical message this week, and this one is pretty much not for everyone, but for those of you that it is for, take it back to God, sit with Him, and ask Him if this is for you in this season before just taking something and running with it, because we're all in different seasons. So that's very important. But pretty much this is You Found Me by The Fray. And God started speaking this to me last weekend. And that day I had seen Dead End. I had seen Yay, Resurrection. I had seen 1059, which in the Strongs means to weep. I had seen the number 101 a lot that day, which actually took me to Ezra, where Ezra pretty much falls on his face. Hold on. He pretty much fell on his face before God, and he was weeping. Again, 1059, weep. He was weeping over the sin in his life. And I had also seen 353, which means help in the Strongs. I had seen 326, which means to live again, to regain strength. To live again means resurrection. They're choosing to live. They are no longer choosing death, but they are choosing life. I had also seen 341, to make new. Again, a new life. God is now, through them being transformed, just like that, which is what He said would happen. They're choosing life again. They're choosing, he's making them a new person, a new creation in Him. I had also seen a church that I had passed that the sign stood out to me that day that said, new life, new hope, no Jesus. So they are finding new life. They're finding new hope, and they're knowing who Jesus is, and they are about to know Him on a whole new level. That they didn't before. And I had also seen Dead End. And so again, this is The Fray. So the lyrics say, I found God. This is where they find God, on the corner of First and Amistad. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. He has an accent. So I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. But it says, where the West was all but one. And this actually stood out to me and led me to the West Wind in Exodus chapter 10, verse 19, which says, the Lord changed the wind, and He made a very strong wind to blow from the west. It blew the locusts away into the Red Sea. Not one locust was left anywhere in Egypt. Now, this is the thing. It says where the west wind was all but one. The reason why the locusts were there in the first place was because God pretty much, it was a famine that He had set on the land to prove a point, to show judgment, basically. Like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's happening because you chose not to listen to me and do this, which is what He took this person through. He took them through judgment. But now, in that judgment, it says where the West was all but one, W-O-N, like victory. It was looking like they were being defeated because, I mean, in the end they're not, but that's what it was looking like. This judgment was looking like they were being defeated, however that judgment looked for them. And it wasn't looking like they were winning. It looked like they were being defeated and they were losing. But this is where they find God at this point, and God comes in and moves this west wind in and washes out all the judgment. The judgment is ending, and this is where they move out of the judgment, find God, and now they're being born again into a new life. They're being resurrected. And so where they do get the victory, they already had the victory. It didn't appear that way for some time. It says, all alone, smoking his last cigarette. I said, where have you been? they're like, God, where have you been? Like it looked like this judgment, and I released a word a few days back about this. Their judgment is gonna look like, or it has looked like God has removed his hand, because he kind of has removed his mercy off of, or his grace off of them. And that is not a good feeling. And you pretty much feel the absence of God when that happens. And so they've been feeling that absence. They say, where have you been? He said, ask anything. And this is where God is like, come lay your burdens on me, lay them at my feet, and seek me, and I will answer you. And so now at this point, they're seeking God for help, for instruction. They're seeking him out and his will. It says, where were you when everything was falling apart? Again, they're like, where were you when all of these things were happening? Where were you? God's like, I was there the whole time, but you just weren't seeing me. And it says, all my days were spent by the telephone that never rang, and all I needed was a call that never came to the First and to the corner of First and Amistad. Again, they were at that this is reminding me of the crossroads. They were at that crossroads, which is, I think, in comparison to this corner of First and Amistad where they were at that crossroads. And they're basically saying, like, they were trying to get a hold of God. They were praying, they were crying out, but God was taking them through this judgment. And so, bringing them to this point of like surrenderance. And so God was not answering their prayers. But now he is. Now that they're back home and they're back home with God and they're surrendered. It says, lost and insecure, and they were feeling lost and insecure. You found me lying on the floor. This is where they find God at their lowest point, and God finds them. Well, God didn't find them. God was there the whole time, but God heard their cry, and he hooked them up, pulled them up and out of their discomfort, their suffering, and saved them. Jesus is your Savior. And it says, surrounded. They were feeling surrounded by all of these things. Why'd you have to wait? Where were you? Just a little late. So they're saying, like, God, why'd you have to wait for it to get to this point? Where were you? And they feel like God was late, but here's the thing. God wasn't late. God was right on time. God's always right on time. It says, in the end, everyone ends up alone. And that's just this mindset that they've been stuck in. God's got to work on that. And it says, losing her, the only one who's ever known who I am, who I'm not, and who I want to be. No way to know how long she will be next to me. So, they've also had to God had to remove you from their life as well. And that hurt them. They know that you know them better than anyone pretty much ever has. And this also is in reference to God. God knows them better than anyone else, even you too. But it says, I've been calling for years and years and you never left me no messages. And so, they've been calling on God through this period of judgment and wondering why God's not answering them. But the thing is, they were never waiting on God. God was always waiting on them. And then it says, you've got me some nerve, taking all I want. And they kind of feel that way, like, God's pretty much had to strip them of everything to get them to get to this point of surrenderance. And then it just goes back to, why'd you have to wait to find me? But the thing is, again, they were never waiting on God. God was just waiting on them. And they finally gave God their yes. And now they are resurrecting and being birthed into a new life. So Again, this is not for everyone, so just take it back to God. But this is good. This is so good. This is exciting. This is what some of us have been waiting on. And yeah, I pray that it gets to who it needs to get to. If you feel led to sow, my information